know what's up. Okay, this is already fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
It is.
okay,
We're all
oh,
set.
good, okay, good.
Thanks. How you guys doing? Oh, come on. Sober? Good. That's a great start. Good job. Well done, you specifically. How you guys doing? Come on. Come on. Valley DevFest people, come on. All right. So, as I was introduced, I'm Slattery, and I'm the learning experience designer from Speechless, and I get to be your keynote speaker today, and I'm super excited to be here. Yeah. So, before we get started, does anybody know what Speechless is? Great. We're working to really, expand into the market. So, by the end of the day, you'll know who we are, and you know who I am. So we're going to focus this morning on how to develop your story. So this is going to be about a 45-minute experience where at times I'm going to ask you to get involved. Now I know we're in a very deep space here, but you might be asked to stand up on your feet or interact with others. So if that makes your heart palpitate or want to find the nearest exit, don't. Stay. This is an opportunity to explore and play and get us going a little bit this morning before all the rest of the workshops and hackerspaces. So stick around.
We're all walking for it. Yeah, we're walking.
Great. So as part of developing your story, if you're the kind of person who likes to interact by tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking and all of the things, feel free to connect with us this way and find us throughout the day. If you don't, that's fine too. So, who am I, other than this person standing up front of a wonderfully deep auditorium? So, as I mentioned before, I'm the learning experience designer with Speechless, and Speechless is a startup based in San Francisco, and we only have about 6 or 7 people on our core team, and all of us are actors. All of us are improvisers, all of us have a background in production, filmmaking, show running. All of us do creative endeavors, right? And we love to bring that to the people that we work with. So we work with individuals and teams and companies to try to empower them to know that if you're a presenter, you're a performer.
Yeah.
Right?
Right on.
Right. Thanks, Rhea.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'm the cheerleader.
Yeah.
I can do this.
And so whether that presentation means one-on-one, whether that means pitching your ideas to an investor, whether that means performing in front of an audience like this, whatever the dynamic, whatever the scale, you're a performer. And so we want to empower you with the skills and techniques and preparation to be able to rise to the occasion. So all of us bring those creative backgrounds to the work that we do. My story in particular, I've always been an actor. My mom said I was an actor way before I knew I was. I was a very expressive, rambunctious kid. And I went to Stanford. Maybe you've heard of it? It's a small school. But, it's a liberal arts small school. Anyway, it's pretty great. So I went to Stanford, and I had studied drama and communication. And since then, I've been able to use it in companies and hopefully empower people to be their most authentic, unique self. So I started working with Speechless about 4 years ago. And so I've said learning experience designer a couple times. Does anybody know what that is or have any semblance of an idea? No, but it's a really cool sounding name, right? Yeah. Thanks, Rio. Thanks, Rio. Yeah. Right, so what it means is that we have learning experiences or workshops that we give to individuals and to teams and to companies, and I help create those, iterate and prototype those, and then bring those to companies. So that's what I do, and that's me looking serious. Great, so the beginning of the Speechless story actually started out as a show. So we have, for the past 5 years now, done a show in San Francisco every month where we get stand-up comedians, actors, civilians to give PowerPoint presentations in front of decks they've never seen before with a topic they get right before they go on stage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Again, most people are like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you choose that? But that's exactly why our show has become such a phenomenon. People love it. People have such a fun, spontaneous, present time with it. People who watch it are like, I haven't had that much fun watching a PowerPoint in years. How do we do this at our company, right? How do we bring fun and authenticity and presence back to the way we present and how we communicate our ideas, be them very technical or not technical. So this is one of our founders, Sammy Wiegent. He started the show. And that was it. That was supposed to be the beginning, middle, and end, but it wasn't. Out of that became this mass need for this. Everybody kept coming up and saying, wait, how do I bring this to our companies? And they're like, oh, you want to bring this to your company? Oh, I guess we have something more than just a show. I think we have our Speechless Learn wing of our company, which is bringing these skills to companies. How do we scaffold these learning experiences and training so that people can really dive into the improv thinking, dive into the ways to be a really visceral storyteller and presenter, and really love what they do, and love presenting, and have other people love what they do. So at the beginning, right, we were looking at this kind of interaction between funny and business. How do we bring some goof to this PowerPoint presentation? Has everybody given a PowerPoint presentation or some equivalent? Has everyone loved giving that PowerPoint presentation? Great, there are like 4 hands in the audience. It's great. Right, so this was the problem we were hoping to creatively and enjoyably solve. So we thought, okay, well the show is about funny and business. Well, actually what we want to do is bring more joy back to work. Thanks again, Rio. Thanks again. Thanks, Rio.
I'll be your cheerleader.
Thanks so much, Rio. Just right on top of it. It's great. So yeah, how do we make this more the dynamic? How can our presentations exist in that center part? How can we bring our personal stories? What lights us up? What makes us feel passionate about something? What drives us to make and create and collaborate? And how can we bring that into the message? Not just learning what you do in a presentation, but who you are. That's what we really want to know. Because we're interested in people. We're fascinated by people's stories. And so today we're going to look at that. How can we access and play with story in a way that really highlights what we all love to do and why we're here so early on a Sunday morning. It's very early for me. Thanks so much. Great. So now this might be our end, right? Okay, we've worked with amazing companies, a lot of people, this network effect of people wanting to work with us, wanting to bring something that's a little more vulnerable, a little more accessible, a little more engaging, right? But we keep working with people and we keep getting invited to things like this so we can share this new creative process and this new way that we believe is a great approach to presenting. You might see Google there. So how do we do that, right? I've talked about improv thinking a little, right? But what is that? So much like you see here, we help people break down the talk that they're about to give. We do sprints before big conferences. We've worked with Google I/O every year for about the past 4 years to really help presenters break it down, simplify. We all know that we're very busy, creative, productive human beings, and a lot of times it can be really daunting to prepare for a talk, right? So we are all about how do we break down, make it tools and techniques that are really simple, right? Even breaking down the narrative structure, the goals of a talk. We help people with on-camera skills. We've done several on-camera workshops and individual one-on-one coaching so that online content can still feel like a conversation, can still feel like dialogue, not being talked at. And then we also help teams with their creative processes so it can be more collaborative, so there can be opportunities to fail and to play and to tap into our more creative selves. So why improv thinking, right? Why making things up on the spot? Why a bunch of actors who are imposters in tech? Well, I would say that it's mainly because of this guy. Dr. Charles Lim is an incredible human and scientist, and he has this great book on flow, where he talks about how there's this part of the brain where improvisers, specifically jazz musicianists, when they get into an MRI and you scan the brain, you see that this self-expressive part of the brain lights up, fires. And that state of flow is that moment where hopefully all of you at some point in your life has had that moment of like, oh, I'm killing it, right? I'm nailing this moment. Whatever it is, right? Whether it's a presentation or a talk you gave at your sister's wedding or something you did great at work or even in a sport or whatever, that moment of like, oh, I'm unstoppable right now. That part of like, oh, I'm brave, I feel confident, I feel like I'm really in my body, right? I can't fail. That's that flow place that improv thinking really gets us to. And it helps, actually, when that part of the brain is firing up, the self-monitoring part of the brain, or as we know it, the evil, awful self-critic, right, that we carry around in our brains, that actually quiets. That's the part of the brain that goes dark. So that's that's what improv does. It allows us to open up those creative, iterative, innovative parts of our brain and really shut down the criticism. Thanks, Rio. Thanks.
That's for me, Claire.
Thank you, Rio. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tap into the improv thinking part of our brains so that we can actually start some new pathways, some new neural networks in the brain that help us try some new approaches, try some different tactics and ways into how we collaborate and create. And fun fact, we're actually going to be working with him. He's based in UCSF this year. And fun fact, I'm going to be going into the MRI machine, guys. So I'm scared. I don't know what's in there, but I'm going to find out. So it's going to be fun. So the point of today, right? Why am I even starting off this wonderful festival today? I want us to tap in and remind ourselves that information can be delivered via story, right? We work with a lot of people that information is very technical, right? Very high level and new, right? A lot of you are charting new territory. There are new inventions, new ways of describing the work that you do. And so we want to give you the language and the ability and the creative, expressive way to really communicate that idea and that passion. So we want to do it through story and see how we can use story to really communicate it. We also want to work today, specifically this morning, to get us up in our bodies and telling stories collaboratively, right? How can we work together? How can we, and we definitely work with people when we say, you know, hey, who says presenting has to be alone, right? I've worked with a lot of individuals and teams and said, hey, if presenting alone is daunting, present in a pair, present with a whole team, right? There are added rules that we've given ourselves around presentation that we can strip away so that's even more collaborative. And then also we're going to look a little bit at how personal stories can really create connection and impact and how we can bring more of that personal story into every aspect of what we do. So, y'all ready?
Yo.
Yeah.
I know Rio is, but you guys ready?
Yeah,
Let's do this.
Let's do
Yes, thank you. Great. So the first step, what we always do is, much like I was saying before, if you're a presenter, you're a performer, right? So Lin-Manuel Miranda doesn't just hop out of a cab and become Hamilton on stage, right? He's got a whole preparation process, warming up the voice, the body, the imagination, the creativity, the emotion, right? So that's something that we also have to do as presenters. So I'm going to have you stand up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Out of those seats.
That's right. Great. I know it was comfy, but give your butt a rest. Okay, so.
Your butt makes your brain tired, Claire.
Thanks, Rio. Thank you. Great, so we're just going to do a couple preparation or warm-up exercises. Now, we do this with everybody we work with because sometimes our bodies and our brains are not connected, and we need them to be, right? And now, especially in our modern world, a lot of the creation that we do is from the neck up, right? We sit down and we have this thing be where all the creation happens. But presenting is on our feet, and we're more creative when we're using our entire body to tap into the story we want to tell. So, thanks, everybody. Can you hear me in the back? Nice. Nice. It's like I'm looking up a roller coaster. You guys are like, yeah! Great. Awesome, great. Okay, so this first exercise is going to be a shakeout. Now, take note of the people around you. I want everybody to have eyeballs at the end of this. So, raise your right hand and just kind of flick your wrist. Ah, the sound of wrists. Great. Good. Great. Okay, so that's the right hand. We're going to do the same on the left. Great. Wrists. Now, right foot. This is where you're going to find if you're balanced. Great. Left foot. Right. Great. Okay. I love how, again, the entire audience shifted like that and like this. My personal roller coaster. Great. So, we're going to do a count of 8. All around, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to do 8 on each limb, 4 on each limb, 2 on each limb, 1 on each limb, and then at the end, you're going to end in a superhero pose.
But don't hit anyone.
What? But don't hit anybody. Good point. These are pacifist superheroes. We do not want violence or harm to come to anyone, okay? So, as I just said that, right, before we even start this, who's already planning what their superhero pose is going to be? Right, yeah. Right, So that's the part of the brain that's like, don't look like an idiot, right? Don't you dare do a stupid superhero pose for the love of God, right? That's your little inner critic, right? Who's like, prepare out of fear. Prepare because it's going to go wrong. Prepare because, like, you know if you have the same superhero pose as the guy next to you, oh, you're done. That's it. Your career's over, right? So there are those moments, right? But that's why we're doing this, right? So let that impulse go. Let that fear go and just be like, great, when I end, I'm going to get in a superhero pose and let that be enough, okay? So keep that in mind. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks. We got a couple more Rios up there. It's good. Great. Nice, thanks. Okay, great. Let's count. We're going to count out loud, starting on the right hand. Count of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Louder. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Great. This is a great view, by the way. Take a look around. Take a look around. Pretty great. Awesome. Okay, drop that down. Nice. Great. Oh, no. Stay standing. I'm not done with you. Now, come on. You assumed wrong. Stay standing. Okay, great. So, we're in our body a little bit. I'm seeing some more smiles. I'm seeing a little more looseness in the body. Right, great. Our body carries a lot of tension as well, right? Because for most people, presenting is scarier than death, okay? Right? People would rather maybe pass away than do what I'm doing right now. Think about that, right? That's serious, right? So the body carries that tension. There's that biophysical response of like, oh no, right? So even the shakeout can be a great way to remind our body, no, it's all good. It's okay. It's going to be fine, right? So we can drop down in. The second one, especially around storytelling, this is the expressive center of our story. If we're presenting with a deck, as I am today, right, this is to support me, not to take over the story, right? I want to be the one live in person who's connecting with you. This is to support it, not to take over, right? So we want to warm up this center. So we're going to do a really fun exercise called lion mouse. So how it works, we're going to do, you can put up your lion paws like this. Great. Oh, so fierce. So fierce. I'm scared. Okay, great. So now we're going to do, maybe if you know in yoga, we're going to do a lion's breath where you're really going to drop your tongue down as far as you can and you're going to make your face as wide as possible. And it's going to look like this. That's right. That's on a live stream somewhere. You're welcome. You're welcome. Right? Yeah. But my inner critic, it's quiet. It's okay. It's all right. Great. So let's try it. 1, 2, 3. All right. That's pretty good. That's right.
They can do better.
Yeah, they could do better. Thanks, Rio. All right. On 3. Really drop that disgusting tongue out of your mouth and make your eyes as big as possible. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was better. That was better. Wonderful. Great. So we've got our lion, right? Now we've got our mouse. Our mouse is a tiny little mouse. He's got little paw hands like this. I'll put him right there. And then we're going to make our entire face a little point. And we're going to do a little mouse squeal like this. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you old cuties. You couldn't hurt a thing. All right, great. So we've got our little mouse, right? And then we're going to go lion, back to lion. And then mouse. Lion. Mouse. One more lion for good measure. And you're done. Shake that out. Shake that out. Shake that out. Nice. All right, now you may sit down.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You're rocking it, Claire.
Thanks, Rio. Ah, thanks. Oh, great. Okay.
It's not limericks.
It's not limericks, no. I'm not going to do that to you today. But great. So that's an opportunity to warm up this expressive center, right? Because often the stories that we tell, we want them to make someone feel something, right? Someone has to feel a way before they do a thing, right? So a lot of the stories, we want them to have a specific tone and message, right? And that comes from that place of emotion and imagination and making stories as visceral as possible, right? So people can empathize and connect. So Lion Mouse is not only just fun, but it's a great way to warm up the mental, the physical, and the vocal. And also, it's a really fun way to warm up this disgusting muscle we have in our mouth called a tongue, right? It's huge. It actually goes all the way down here. Yeah. That was great. Some good responses. Good. Right. So it's this massive muscle that most of us don't warm up or stretch at all before we go into a presentation and talk, right? And over-depend on language and the very muscle that we need, which is the tongue. So Lion Mouse is also just a short little exercise, a small little tool you can take away and do in the bathroom, which I did, or in the hallway, or at your desk before you go into a presentation, a meeting, a one-on-one, a client call, whatever it may be, right? Whatever customer-facing or internal-facing moment you want to prepare for it and warm up that message and story. So great. So why do we do this? Much like I was just saying, 93% of all of our communication is nonverbal. That's a lot, right? And most of the time as presenters and as storytellers, we're communicating our ideas completely verbally. We don't warm up our physicality, we don't warm up that tone or feeling of a story, we don't connect to it personally, right? So there's a lot that we're leaving behind that could really help support our story. So we want to work on that a bit today too. So with that, I would love, that's right, we're going to get up again. I would love for you to turn to a partner. You're going to stand up again. I know. It's a Sunday. So I'm going to have you stand up, turn to a partner, person next to you. If you know that person, great. If you don't know that person, introduce yourself. Say hello. Shake a hand. Whatever you would like, right? Great. So, yes, and oh, look at you guys. It's because we did Lion Mouse. You guys are all so tight already. All right, so for this exercise, we're going to use the foundational principle of improv thinking, which is yes and. How do we agree? How do we stay positive? And how do we build on each other's ideas? And not only build, but celebrate each other's ideas. How do I make my partner's idea so fantastic that I have to add to it, that I have to use it? I have to make it important and crucial, right? How often do we actually do that at work? I think not enough, right? We also don't set up moments where we really celebrate each other's ideas in a way that we can create that positive echo chamber so that we get to great ideas that we wouldn't otherwise if we said no too early in that creative process, right? Yeah. Real. Okay, great. So, what we're going to do in this exercise, you guys are long buds. You've been friends forever in this scenario, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to choose, what's a place you've always wanted to go on a vacation? What? Chuck E. Cheese. Reaching for the stars there, sir. I like it. One day, I hope you experience Chuck E. Cheese. I basically grew up inside of a Chuck E. Cheese. We'll talk after. Anyway, okay, great. So each of you is going to take a trip to Chuck E. Cheese. How you're going to do this is one person of the partner is going to go, remember that time we went to Chuck E. Cheese and you just fill in the blank. Now, you don't have to be creative, interesting, funny. Just say something. It could be, and we ate pizza. Pizza's a pretty important part of Chuck E. Cheese. We'll talk after. Anyway, so, right, you can just say that, right? No matter what that first person says, your partner will say, yes, and you add to that. Now, you will 100% be more successful at this if you just listen to your partner and respond. Right? Use what they just said to continue the story. Collaboratively tell this story and discover as you go where you land. Right? So, you're all going to go to Chuck E. Cheese. You're welcome. Now, one person in the partner, go ahead and start saying, remember that time we went to Chuck E. Cheese and just go back and forth and recall this wonderful story that you experienced together. Go ahead. stop there. Let's stop there. Go ahead and thank your partner. Because that was no ordinary visit to Chuck E. Cheese, was it? That was a day at Chuck E. Cheese, right? Yes. Excellent. Great. Great. Yeah, you can take a seat again. You can take a seat again. Great. Awesome. Your Chuck E. Cheese was in Vegas? Oh no. Wait, Chucky himself?
Yeah, he told us to add him on Snapchat.
Wow, that was a good visit. That was a good visit. Any other highlights? What were some specifically fun highlights from your trip to Chuck E. Cheese? Anybody? Yeah.
That we did it the night before we got married.
The night before he got married, he went to Chuck E. Cheese with your person to be, or everybody. Great, everybody was there. That's wonderful. What else? What were some adventures? A car lit on fire?
No, we lit a tree on fire.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. You lit a tree on fire. Yeah. Chucky's an arsonist. Who knew? Okay. How about you?
We went to a tour across the U.S. for all Chuck E. Cheeses.
Whoa! You went on a tour of all the Chuck E. Cheeses across the nation. Wow. I want to see that book. That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, great. So as you probably experienced from that, right? Your memory of this trip went to different places than you thought, perhaps, right? You discovered as you went, making it up in the moment, making your partner look good, right? Saying yes to ideas that maybe in the real world seem loopy or out there or too much. But I would argue, and we've implemented this for a lot of teams, actually, how can we just say yes and to each other, even for 5 minutes at the beginning of a meeting, even for 5 minutes at the beginning of your process of writing out your talk, right? How can you just rewire that pathway in the brain that everything is right? Right? How can we choose to create that process in a way that really gives us a lot of great ideas? A lot of times we do this exercise with people, and sometimes they come up with ideas and they're like, oh, that's crazy. Actually, no, we could code that. No, we could actually, right? So there's sometimes we cut off the innovative, exciting ideas because we think they're too far-fetched. Well, you all know that's not true because you're creating new things every day. So, thanks for trying out the yes and. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Rio. Yeah. Okay, great. So now I also talked about before, how do we make stories more personal, right? We want to connect with each other and engage with each other, right? We hear that word a lot, engagement, right? Customer engagement, personalization, right? I will argue that it starts with a great story that shares something about who you are with somebody else. That's a currency, that's an exchange that means something. And I think we don't use it often enough. So, we're going to have you stand up again.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, stop sighing. Okay, sorry, I'm getting sassy. Sorry. Okay. Great. So what I would love for you to do, there's plenty of space over here in the aisles, right? Get in little groups of 4 people. You might not know 3 other people here, but create a small little group of 4, and in 10 seconds, have a group of 4. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. If it's a group of 3, great. That's totally fine. If it's a group of 4, great. If it's a group of 5, not great. Find a group of 3 or 4 people. Okay. Great. All right. Now in this auditorium, there's got to be somebody who is a Harry Potter fanatic. Many. Okay. Many. I'm sorry, I lowballed that. There's a lot of you. So, of the Harry Potter fanaticos in the auditorium, what is the port key in the Harry Potter world? Great. Great. Several people knew it. So the port key is an object in the Harry Potter world where you touch it, you get transported to somewhere else. We at Speechless believe that story can do that. You can transport an audience. You can show them a new way. You can show them your personality by transporting them with a great story, right? So we're going to use that idea in Portkey. So how this is going to work, I'm going to give you a random word, and one person in each group is going to start by using that Portkey by saying, let's say if the random word was lamp, I would say, lamp takes me to, and I'm going to talk about where it takes me to physically. So lamp takes me to the house where we lived in 8th grade in Santa Cruz, California. And I will just describe that place for just a moment and then recall a 1-minute story that happened in that place. That's it. The only rule is that this story has to be true. It has to be a true personal story, right? This is not the moment for invention, right? Because trust me, you don't need that, right? And we don't want that. We want to be able to access a little snippet about who you are. Share that. It's okay. You got an entire group who's just yes-anded you, right? They're ready to support and make you look good, right? Just as you will do when it's their turn. So, one person in each group, raise your hand. One person in each group, raise your hand. Great, great. The person to your right will go first. Oh yeah. Friends, yes. And you're welcome. You're welcome. Talk to me after if that really hurt. I'm sorry. Okay. So, person to your right, I will give you a random word from my random word app. It exists. It's called Random Word. And we'll get started. Now, if you're the person who's just listening to that 1-minute story, just be an active, engaged listener. Embrace the silence, right? If they're looking for the word or searching for a connection, don't swoop in and help. Let them find it. Give them that space. Trust them. Make them look good so that they can find that connection. Now, again, when you have this Portkey, starting anywhere is great, right? If it took me to my 8th grade house in Santa Cruz, that's what I thought of, I'm going with it. I'm not judging it, right? Let's let that inner critic go. Go with that first idea. You don't have to be clever, innovative, funny, just be true. That's it. All right, you're all standing and I'm ready. Okay, here we go. Your random word is...
Claire, we have a question.
Yes.
So after he told the story, how we go further?
Great. That's a really good question. I'm going to answer it by saying, so what's going to happen is after you go, the first person's going to tell that 1-minute story. Then you are going to pick a word that you said in your story, and you're going to pass it to somebody else in the group, and that will be their new Portkey. Thank you. I was going to say that next, but we're already ahead of the game. You guys are advanced. My mistake. Great. So that's how that's going to work. And your first, your random word was jumper cables. Jumper cables. So go ahead and start. These are 1-minute short stories. Go ahead.
Jumper word corner.
So we were saying some guys, and they have this wonderful talking out loud and doodle mix. And he's so sweet. He wants to jump up and press pause up and and so this is really cute thing. He's sitting there, and we're kind of just doing one a little gentle, like, can I, like, can I start testing it? It's really charming. What about two parts, I guess? You can call it the question. See that's from the I use it where we can work.
You should be on your third person by now. Your third person should be going now.
Also because what a company needs is to be very specific. So like, you know, the nugget they need, they not do the thing that flies down from but yeah, you know, like I
The fourth person should be finishing up. The fourth person should be finishing up. And so he had to learn apparently it's very optimized. Okay, go ahead and thank your group. Thank your group. And go ahead and take your seat again. How's my top of the roller coaster doing? How you guys doing up there? Woo! Yeah. Thank you. That's great. Awesome. Great. So we're coming to the end of our time, but I wanted to check in with you and see how this is feeling. What did we notice in this last exercise around Portkey? How was it to be what?
That we were awesome.
That you're awesome. Yeah, that's true.
But sometimes it's hard to let that silence be as a person's thinking you want to help them, and yet I just stay quiet.
Yeah, great.
It's hard for me. So.
Yeah, hard for a lot of us. Totally, yeah, because, I mean, probably you're here so early on a Sunday morning because, right, you're someone who wants to help, wants to, be involved, who's engaged and takes initiative, right? So you might be more of that kind of person who wants to help, right? Sometimes you got to let that person, trust them to do it, yeah. What else? What else did we notice? Either being the storyteller, hearing other stories. Yeah, way in the back.
Made a connection.
You felt like you made a connection. Great. Yeah.
It's hard not to judge the first idea that comes to mind, but it turns out okay.
Great. She said it's hard not to judge that first idea that pops into your head, but it turns out okay. Great. Good thing for me. Yeah.
We're capable of going anywhere. Well, we're capable of going places on any input, any impetus. We can use anything
Yeah,
to be creative.
absolutely. Our brain is so good at problem solving, right? It loves puzzles, right? So it likes, okay, you give it this input of this word. Ooh, it wants to figure it out, right? Great. Anything else? Great.
Yay.
Great. Awesome. And I'm sure you guys were already starting to discuss and talk amongst yourselves as you go. So, as I leave you guys today, I want this, I kicked off today. I'm so glad I did in this keynote because, thanks for your Thank you. Thanks. Because I want this to be a reminder of what we can experience throughout the entire day, right? We can continue to use stories, right? We love the exercise of Portkey because oftentimes these aren't the stories we get to tell at work or at networking events, right? We ask the loathed question of, what do you do? I hate that word, right? And oftentimes it doesn't get at what we actually do, what lights us up. What's a short story that tells a little bit about who I am and what makes me me, right? So Portkey can be a great exercise to use maybe in an offsite or a retreat, or working with new people, or working with a new team, or companies that are merging and coming together. It's a great shortcut, a great short tool to get us to put in that input and get out a story that really is a revealing moment of connection and impact. Now, also with our stories in presentations, right? You can communicate your ideas through the rest of the day collaboratively. If you're here with a coworker, right? Tell your story together, right? How can we build those stories moving forward collaboratively? And also, right, information can be delivered via story, right? Keep using a sense of story and personal connection so that not only can you be lit up when you're talking about your own story, but people can understand and resonate it with it more easily. Now, moving forward, I would love for you guys to have some additional resources. That's me! Yes! So we've done a whole video series with Google developers, and it's called Public Speaking Pro Tips, and it's a whole series of videos. So, like I said, what we want to do at Speechless is give you short tools and techniques to readily and immediately implement into the way you work, in the way you work individually and as a team, whether it be preparing for a presentation or just your current workflows, how you work, right? So check those out. Please, feel free. And I can send a link, I'm sure, to the organizers that can send it out to you, so you make sure you get it. And please stay connected with Speechless and our story and my story. We're linked now. This is an opportunity for connection not only with your peers, but with me. So please feel free to come talk to me afterward. I love what I do, and I'd love to hear more about your story. Thank you, guys.
Nance, are you? Chava? You're up, Chava.
Give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
As Chava comes to the stage. Talk amongst yourselves.
We have 5 minutes before this session starts, right? Right, before first session? Right? Is it 10:15? 10:15, okay. Glad you guys all checked your schedule.
So, I want to thank you, Claire, again, for presenting us, visiting us, and we try to involve you with various activities here, like we mentioned the root access, and this was also an interactive program. And I just want to also show a feature on the website that there's a character designer. It's kind of, we call it Androidify, where you can, if you go to a website and you go to Androidify, you can, and log in, you can design your own Android character.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be listed, the characters which are designed there. You can select from different head elements, body and leg elements, and we also have an Android app for that, but you can do it with the web app online. So that's all I wanted to say, and have fun today. And if we are speaking about the website, you can also rate each session. So if you bring up the session card, then you have the ability to rate 3 different aspects, like how was the venue or the room specifically, how was just the content, what was conveyed, and how was the presentation part itself. Plus, we are very interested in if you have any comments, textual comments. So, and there's gonna be also, besides that, conference survey at in the end. We are very interested in, and we'll give you those links to you. Feedback is very important. So again, it's interactive, and we want to be better and gather your input to be better next year.